Why, hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Innovantage Podcast, where business meets tech to bring you your competitive edge. As always, I'm your host, Max, and it is my ongoing job and duty to explore that edge between business and tech and find out what's going on between the two. And as you may have gathered, we talk about AI a lot on this show. Not because we choose to specifically, but because AI is everywhere. And the more in-depth the discussion about AI, in my opinion, the better the outcome in the end. So today, our episode is going to be focused precisely on that, an in-depth discussion on AI, about different industries where AI has been implemented, about the current actual real implementations of AI that are out there, what is beside AI than just the LLMs like ChatGPT, and so on and so on and so forth. And to help me on that journey today is Martynas Kairys, who is the Director of AI Strategy and Development at Shift4, a keynote speaker, and generally speaking, a in-depth expert on AI. So Martynas, hello and welcome to the show.
Hello, nice to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. So how has your career evolved, where you are currently, and what are you currently doing?
So first of all, I never thought I'm going to do anything with tech in general, not just AI, but in tech. When I graduated in 2000, there was at that time, everybody was already saying you should study computer science. And I remember distinctly that I bought a book that was about how to build a website. And I looked at that book as never, I'm not going to do anything like that. Never, ever in my life. And my education is not related to tech or AI. I have two different education. The one is from the Danish Royal Naval Academy. So I'm a naval officer. And the other one is I graduated at the University of Lithuania economics. So the one is naval officer. The other one is economics. Has nothing to do with technology. But in year 2012, around that time, I decided that I want to do something for myself. I want to try something. And I decided to do a startup. And of course, startups mostly are related to tech. So I decided, okay, I have experience with management, leadership. This is what I was doing the whole life. And so I built an app with a team. It's called, it doesn't matter what it's called now, but it helps people develop good habits. I truly believe in that. And we built this app, and that was around 2012. And yeah, this is how this whole journey with tech started. And when I was working with the team, that was the time when startups became really popular in Lithuania. There was the first startup weekend in Vilnius and in Kaunas at the same time. So it was getting more and more popular in Lithuania. So it was part of this first movement in a way. And I understood that if I want to understand what team is doing and be better at what I do, I should also learn a little bit of tech stuff. So every time I talk with a developer, I know what to ask and what kind of features I want to build in the future or for that app. Because sometimes I may ask, oh, we need this for tomorrow, but actually it's not possible. It takes 1 month, and vice versa. Sometimes what is really easy to do, I may think that takes a month, right? So I started this habit of waking up early in the morning. And from 5 a.m. till 8, I would sit down and I would write code. I decided to work well and learn Java. There was Kotlin. There was the start of Kotlin at that time. That was interesting experience. That was pretty difficult, of course. This is how I got into that. And after a while, we had a company in London, and then we closed the company. And then at some point, I decided to join and start working at Shift4. So it wasn't directly related. I was not a developer. I wasn't a programmer. I was a product manager. I was director for developer marketplace, third-party integrations. That was director for a leads management system, for a sales system. Was director for program management. And then I started spending more and more time with automations. And that was really interesting for me. And before ChatGPT thing happened, I mean, before 2022, even though ChatGPT start was in 2018, actually, the first version. But the one that we know and the one that we used was in 2022 at the end of November. So before that, I got interested in automations, how to do less, achieve more. And I always liked smart systems, smart people around me. So I thought that was like really interesting. How can I use some of those systems and I construct them to do some work for me? And I got into that, and I started doing some. I started learning something online about AI, also before ChatGPT, more like on strategic level, so you have better understanding how it works, not how to program. And after a while, when ChatGPT started, that was end of November. This was the time when we decided around that time with Shift4 that we need someone in the company leading AI in our company.
Mm.
And yeah, so this is how I got into that. So once again, I never thought I'm going to go in tech, but I love it.
I think that's the kind of the important thing, whether or not the transition has been successful. So you've tried different things, and you're now in tech, and you actually like being in tech. So can you give a bit more insight into what Shift4 does as a business for those of our viewers that don't know?
Right. So Shift4, it's a fintech company. In a nutshell, it's a payment company, global payment company. Our headquarters are in the United States. And the biggest office that we have outside of the United States is in Lithuania, in Vilnius. We started, when I started, we were like 40 people. That was 8 years ago. And then now we are 800. So
Wow.
this is like, and I think this whole thing changed because management, top management, executive management, they saw how people are productive here, what they do, the results, and they loved it. So we got more and more responsibilities, and we started building some products. We have also support. We do R&D. So it's a little bit of everything. Our main customers are usually restaurants, either small ones or big ones or chains, also stadiums, also some casinos. So it's a mix of that. So anything that has to do with payments, we're gonna be in it. So yeah, and we have different group of people, companies, like from like chain hotels that are known worldwide to the companies like Starlink, for example. That is not restaurant, that is not hotel, something different, but this is one of our customers that we have.
Okay, so not your run-of-the-mill kind of low-tech. This is kind of your true high-tech,
Right.
connected with payments, connected with Starlink. So not something that you can just casually and easily understand in an afternoon. So how did you arrive to a place where you were assigned or decided to be the head for AI at Shift4? Like what kind of maybe, I don't know, skill set you've cultivated or credentials you've picked up along the way?
So first of all, I've always been really proactive,
Yeah.
not just with ideas, but also with execution. So I wouldn't go just say, "Oh, I have this idea." I would usually go with the idea and already sort of like beta test ready type of product already. So I think that's one of the things. And the other thing is Shift4. I was one of the few people who actually started a lot of things from zero, like developer marketplace, leads management system. So basically 1-2 person and build a whole team, build a whole product. So basically from nothing. I think because of that and because of my experience, and I've been in leadership positions since my graduation from Navy in Denmark, because this is like, that was the first time I was leading something. I was 18 years old, and they told me like, this is like a group of people. This is your squad. You have to lead that. It's like, how do I do that? Like, we haven't been taught about this at school or university, right?
Yeah.
And I was 18 years old. So leadership was playing a big part. You're taking responsibility, and you not just come up with ideas, but you execute. And if you have any trouble, you figure out how to solve this, right? So I think this was one of the key reasons why I was chosen for that position. Yeah, so I was already showing results before that. I I initiated the first hackathons that we had at Shift4,
Hmm.
not just in Lithuania but globally. That was also the first thing. Yeah, I love doing stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. That's kind of connects to the AI space very well, I think. There's a lot of doing right now.
Right,
A lot of companies striving to be the next big thing. If you're talking about startups, a lot of new services coming out that are AI first or
right,
AI ready or AI focused or whatever. And a lot of bigger companies like Shift4 are also looking for innovation and turning to AI in
right.
that sense. So maybe you can expand a little bit on what your day to day looks like. So what is it that you actually do? What kind of, I don't know, AI solutions are you exposed to on your day to day?
So at Shift4, we have different solutions for our clients, and we also build something for them so they can use our services better. So the first one, that's probably the easiest one that most companies have now already. It's AI assistant. It's sort of like AI chatbot that helps you answer questions. Like
Hmm.
if you're a merchant, like if something isn't working, or you want to know how to do specific task, how to avoid the payment, how to add new employee, these type of things, right?
Hmm.
So usually you can find this information in troubleshooting guides, but people are too lazy to read. We all are, and we want to get answer.
That's true.
We either want to call support and get an answer, right? The challenge with that is that in most cases, even if you decide to get to live agent, it takes you a little bit of time waiting. You are in line, right? And now we have those AI assistants that are much, much smarter than it was like even a year ago. I'm not talking 5 years ago, right? And some people, they have like really bad experience because they tried something like that 5 years ago. And the answer they would get, it's not an answer. It's basically a link to our article that you have to read. So I'm not getting an answer. I'm just getting a source link.
Hmm.
So this doesn't help me, right? So I want to talk with a live agent. But if I have AI assistant that I ask a question and I get like, oh, step one, do this, step two, do this, step three, do this. Yeah, sure. I would rather use that than wait in line because time is precious, right?
Yeah.
So these type of solutions, I think it's almost everywhere now, or at least it's getting to that level. But there are some other ones that are like more interesting and more nuanced. Like for example, if you're a client and you have like account with us, right? And you decide to ask, okay, so what is our latest sales of specific items compared to last year for 2 weeks duration
Yeah.
and compared percentage wise, right? So it's not just asking a question, but it's actually asking for calculation as well, you know? So there's like some additional stuff. So usually when you go and you have like business dashboard, you can download some Excel sheets where you see the data of your transactions, and you need to do calculations yourself,
Hmm.
right? But in this case, AI can do that for you already, so it saves you time. So this is really valuable for client. You can ask like very unique questions, like very specific ones,
Hmm.
right? That's the other one. And of course, we build solutions internally for our employees and ourselves to use that. And in some cases, they're like very simple ones, like for example, asking, "Oh, so how do I take vacation?" And there's like usually intranet that you can read, company's intranet where you can read about it. But people, what they usually do, they just Slack HR or email them and get answer. But when you have like 800 employees or 4,000 employees, and somebody from HR has to answer those questions all the time, basically every day. So it's not how much time it takes for them to answer the question, is the distractions they get.
Hmm.
So they cannot focus on something more valuable. I'm not saying that these questions are not valuable, but I would say that like they can do a deep work on something, right?
Sure.
So employees can ask those questions, and it goes not only with HR, it can go with documentation, right? And for developers with Confluence, right? Where we have this description about this product, right? About this feature, why we decided to do this, right?
Yeah.
And even if we go even more like deep there, so there are solutions that are provided by companies like OpenAI, Microsoft, Anthropic, GitHub, and there are developers using, for example, GitHub Copilot, right?
Sure.
So you can track how much line of code they accept. You can calculate. So, for example, if you see like I'll give you an example. So if there are like 100 developers using GitHub Copilot, and they accept around, let's say, 50,000 lines of code,
Mm-hmm.
and a senior developer, good senior developer, during the year they write around 25,000 lines of code.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about debugging, writing code, the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So that means like 50,000, it's already like 2 senior developers full-time job, good senior developers. But the price you're paying, and this is like in 1 month, like, so 100,000, right? You
Yeah.
have like lines of 50,000 lines of code accepted. So that's in 1 month. So you basically already have like, no, you have proved that, okay, this is worth paying for this subscription, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to track it. You have to kind of like look at the data. And I know there are some developers using that daily, and there's some developers use it bi-weekly. So it's a mix, I would say.
Yeah.
But there are some solutions that people can build themselves. Like, for example, you can build projects with Anthropic, you can build gems with Gemini, or you can build GPTs with OpenAI.
Yeah.
And the ones you can use it for yourself, or you can create that one and share with your team. So if you're working with marketing team, you say, okay, this one I created for us to use, and this one is just for writing posts based on our style, right? Good. So I don't need to write a new prompt. I just write bullet points, what kind of post I want. The same goes with development, right? I can create GPT that helps me understand what this code is about, and all those instructions are already there, right? And I'm happy to see that more and more companies and more people explore those AI solutions, not as co-pilots in that sense that I give sort of like a task and ask AI to execute it, like write me an email, right? This is like a co-pilot type of thing. But there's other way. There's co-thinker, where I say like, look, this is what I wrote. What are your thoughts on that? And AI would say, oh, I think this is good. This is solid. I think this is the weakest link. Why would you write that? Okay, I wrote this because of that. Okay, I understand your thinking, but look, you forgot to mention this and that. So this is like a different way, right? We're going to co-thinker.
Yeah.
Not many people use that, but I see more and more do. So I'm really happy for that. And this way, it's like I'm not giving all thinking away to AI to do all the things, but I'm having like a companion, right, as a partner.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful. And these things become more and more powerful no matter what solutions you build in the company. So we use that as well.
Okay, so then what's your opinion on the overall, I don't know, position of AI in our current culture? So there's a lot of hype around it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are just pure AI evangelists, and there are some who are AI haters, and there are a lot of folks in between the two extremes. But in the end of the day, you have outlined very many practical use cases of AI that are already being outlined. And for example, for the amounts of code that a developer writes, I can definitely imagine a lot of people would argue that, well, it's not about the lines of code that you write. It's about understanding the architecture. It's about knowing the legacy. It's about understanding the business goals. It's about, why does it cost like $20 to put up a painting, right? It's because it costs $19 to understand where you can put it, and then just $1 to hit the hammer, right? So it's kind of the same logic where, is it that useful in your own personal opinion? Is it in the right amount of that transformational hype where it will change industries, where it does influence people's day-to-day work so much? Or is it more towards the other end of the spectrum, where it's a bit overhyped, where all of the time that you save through AI, you spend by talking to AI, basically,
Right.
and then nothing is basically gained. The work is changed, but it's not that efficient. So
Right.
what's your opinion?
So first of all, we have to admit that I'm biased because my position is AI director, right? So it's like I'm already evangelist for that.
Sure.
But I'm always, depending on what I read the day before, I'm either excited or scared. These are like two the opposites. So I do believe that in some cases it's doing too much for us, and some people say that, oh, like we think less.
Yeah.
I do agree on that point. Like if the only thing you do is just like use this co-pilot type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And if you say, okay, the quality I'm getting is okay for me, or the product owner or the business owner says this is good enough, right? I don't think it's going to continue in the future. I think we're going to go and ask for better quality for products, for services. This whole thing reminds me of the start of, like, in a way, the start of internet era, when around, I cannot say it's the start, but this is like probably the dot-com bubble when it started, like around 2000s.
Yeah.
When there were like some newspaper magazines with some headlines saying, now we have internet. So it's going to do so much for us. And now we're going to have so much time for ourselves. So this is like, nobody feels that they have more time. And
No.
and one of the reasons for that is that we require and we ask for better products, better services, and we want more. Like, it's not enough to have one vacation per year. Like, even if I go for long vacation, I want to have like two more or three more like short ones.
Yeah.
And I look at Instagram and I see people, oh, they going there. I want to go there as well. So it kind of like accelerates that I need to do more, to build more. And the same is going to be with AI, that I think the business, they're going to compete and they have to be better than the other business. And the way to do that is basically either to use AI to help unravel new things, to create new things that never existed, because just to have like a check mark that this is done, it's not going to be enough at some point. I do believe in that. And it also depends, like, how, not just how you use it, but who uses that. Very specific example, my grandfather. So I showed him what ChatGPT does.
Yeah.
And I showed him audio mode. So he's like, he can write, but his eyes are not that good anymore. And he tried audio mode, and he spoke in Lithuanian with AI, and it answered all the questions about how to plant tomatoes, cucumbers, like what is the best time for that. And he was so happy about it. And he said, like, I want subscription for that. And so, like, yeah, but that costs like 20 euros plus, And he said, like, fine. It's like, you want to pay for that 20 euros a month for that? Yeah, I want that. And that was weird for me, because there were some other things I asked him, like that, oh, you can use this communication service and it's going to cost you like $3-4 extra. He said, like, no, I'm not going to spend money on that. But for this, it's like, yeah, sure. So he's probably a very simple user. He just asks questions in a way like he would Google with voice. But that works for him. He's really happy about it. And when we talk about developers, right? When they say like, oh, but this is not about how many lines of code we accept. True enough, yeah. And sometimes you can like write the same function with 5 lines or 20 lines, right? Yeah. So probably 5 lines is better, right?
Most of the time.
Most of the time, right? So, but there are some other use cases, and I was surprised. There was 2 actually that was interesting for me. The one, there is one developer that I know of, at least, that he talked with me. He said like one of the biggest value he sees is when he discusses the code with AI, like what AI thinks about that. So he has like very meaningful discussion, and he comes up with his own idea how to execute that, but he has conversation, and he keeps doing that. And he started doing that like 6 months ago. I asked about this. maybe a couple of weeks ago, like if he's still doing that. He said, like, yeah, like he still uses GitHub Copilot as well to accept some lines of code. But the most value he sees like when he's using one of the generative AI tools to just talk.
Mm.
And the other example is also with the developer. And I say like, this is one of the things that I do at Shift4 is like, we ask our employees, our colleagues, how they use AI, where they see value. And one of the things that he mentioned, I think that was the number one that I remember from that. He said, it's great for writing code, discussing about code. But if it was only for code, I can survive without this. That's fine. But what I couldn't survive, well, it's exaggeration, of course, but this is, he said that I'm an introvert. And sometimes me presenting ideas to team, to management, it's a little bit tricky. And it's difficult to explain my idea. So I'm lost in translation in a way. And now I don't have any problem with that. And my team and the top management loves it. So we get to solutions faster and we agree or disagree on something much faster than before. So he sees that as the better way for him to help with his communication, not with writing code. That's coming from developer, right? So if you think that this is not good for this specific use case, fine. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not good now. Maybe it will be better later, right? Maybe there's good for something else. However, most of the time it's not good enough for something is because the prompt that I write, it's not good enough. And we expect AI to sort of like read our minds and answer as we want, instead of just that using time to write a mega prompt. And mega prompt, I don't mean like long prompt, but it can be constructed on different anchors that AI can anchor on. And that's a very different use case, how we can do that.
Okay. So can you give me maybe an example of how to construct then a mega prompt? How do you approach that? What information do you use, or what do you keep out and keep an eye out for when you do that?
So a few things. So one of the simple examples that I read recently is if you ask AI to write me a joke or write me a dad joke, it will be probably almost the same, which is like very interesting. That was the first time I was like, it's going to be pretty lame. But if you're going to say, write me a joke in Jimmy Carr style, it's going to be very different. It will be sarcastic. It will be punchy. It will be very, very different. And you just added 2 words. And this is one of the anchors that you did, right? But if you add like additional information, write me a joke by Jimmy Carr, but for wedding in Romania style, I think you can get like really interesting answers. Weird, funny, and that's on the fun side, but there's also on some serious side, the same with strategy, right? For example, if I want to get feedback, like I wrote something, I'm preparing this for, let's say I'm writing a sales letter to a client, right? A business. So I can ask AI, just give me feedback on that, like, or criticize me, right? And it's going to be like pretty neutral. There will be some like what is good, what's not good, right? But if I say like, criticize me as sales of VP or this type of client, right? And if I add additional information, not just client's name, but what this client is about, right? What kind of company is that? That will be a very different answer, right? So you kind of like, when you ask those questions, you need to spend time on that. Otherwise, you will get very generic answers. It's not good, you know. And one of the tips and tricks that I use and I recommend people using, whenever you ask a question, at the end of that question, you can add 1 sentence. What information do you need from my side to answer better? So, and then you will get maybe 5, maybe 10 questions that AI is asking you. And when you answer those questions, the answer will be different. So just in the first prompt, when you're asking like, please analyze me, give me a summary of this document, right? and added additional question: what kind of information do you need from my side to answer this better or to solve this better, right? It will be much, much different, right? So when we're talking about mega prompts, the other thing that comes to my idea is I did this experiment last year at the end of November. That was kind of like for 2 years celebration anniversary for ChatGPT. We did this here in Lithuania at the public Martynas Kairys library. And the experiment was, can AI write like humans? So I have a friend she's a communication expert. She's been in communication, I think, 20 years. And she would tell me, oh, that's easy. Like, I know like how AI writes. I can tell right away. And I said, like, yeah, maybe you can, but I don't think majority can. And then we said, okay, why don't we do a public experiment? So she gathered 12 Lithuanian writers, professional writers who either write books or articles or on LinkedIn. And I wrote 13 texts on the same theme. The theme was, why do I write and what motivates me, right? I haven't seen text of those writers, what they wrote. The only thing I knew who writers are, so I could Google and look at their examples, what their style is, right? And then I build those real long mega prompts that is not like 5 sentences.
Yeah.
They were like 7 pages long.
Oh my God.
That included style, not just style of the writing, but also examples. So we had 25 texts. And people had to guess which text is written by AI and which text is written by a person, by a professional writer. So there were 1,400 plus people who tried it to guess. The average guess from those 25 that guessed right was 13.66. So it's a little bit better than average. But basically, so we cannot distinguish if it's written really well with really good prompts, right? With really good instructions. And number one of those 25 texts was one of the texts that I wrote with GPT. That was one of they got number one. 76.4% of people thought that it was written by human. Number two was a professional writer. Number three was professional writer. But number one was written by me with AI. And I gave there was these long instructions, and that was it. So yeah. So this how can you really get really good at it? And people cannot distinguish. So yeah.
But so far we've talked a lot about LLMs basically, but your title is AI generally, and I think that encompasses more than just LLMs, right? What kind of other challenges do you face on a day-to-day, or maybe in your previous places of work or your career, where you try to innovate through AI, and other maybe examples that you can share with us, aside from the what you already shared with LLMs?
So I think in general with AI and in technology is that companies, they have to sort of invest a lot of money to see results first.
Sure.
And I think this is one of the reasons why some innovations take really long time. Depending on what company you work for, if it's a big corporation, if it has thousands of people working, so it's a very long line of people, stakeholders, to have to accept that this is a good idea, right? Especially if it involves money. Now with AI, you can basically come up with some pretty good MVP product, some beta product that you can already show how it is working, what you can expect. You can have a really good landing page with some descriptions, with the really good landing page copy. You can build a very simple web app that you can turn into iOS app or Android app, and you can show it. You can give people to try it out. So you can do that with Replit. You can do that with Bolt. You can do that with Lovable, right? And I remember I had this conversation with one company. They did a hackathon just recently, and they said that they do those hackathons 2 times a year, and they compared results. Like they compared with the one that they had like 2 years ago, with the one they had just recently, and they said that during the first 4 hours, they produced better results than what they have produced during the whole weekend 2 years ago.
Oh, well.
They had already working better that they can click and they can give links for the people to click and like use it, right? And it's not, I'm not talking about Figma where you can have some images that you click, there's a new image there, right?
Mhm.
But actually URL that you can share public with everyone and it can work. I remember the first demo that I did when I was looking for business angel investment for this Good Habits app, and I sent this to investor. I did that on Google Sheets, and what I did was basically when you click specific cell, it opens a new sheet and it shows a different image. So this is how it's working. So this was my, like my beta testing type of thing, and I
Uh-huh.
think I spent like I don't know a week or something on that, and it wasn't even like good demo, but it worked and I got investment.
Yeah.
Now you can basically have this done in one day, even in less than a day, right? If
Yeah.
you know what tools to use, you can construct that. So I think this is one of the challenges that companies still struggling is they believe that you need to spend lots of money to have something like as a MVP, as a beta,
Yeah.
while in reality you do not. And with using different tools, as I mentioned, you can come up with really good examples and you can decide if you want to invest in that or not, right? And you can present that. So hopefully more and more people become more aware of that. What I'm missing when I talk with some companies is somehow companies believe that they need to have like expert consultant from outside. Uh, it is good, of course. It's gonna save you some time, but I don't think this is necessary long term. I would rather try to find people within a company who is interested in that, who has passion for it, who may be working in some other maybe field, but and he may continue to be the domain expert of that, but he may be the one evangelist who starts this, right? And after that, there will be another one, another one, another one. So what I'm trying to do in our company is also to talk with different teams and say, look, going forward, we're going to need those evangelists. So even though you're working for this product, for this team, and if you feel like you want it, you should definitely spend more time with AI because I cannot answer some of the things that you know. There is some domain knowledge that I do not have. I can answer and help you with some questions, but not everything. So if you spend time in AI and you have domain knowledge, everybody wins. And I believe that every company have those type of people. You just need to ask and you need to talk with those people, and they will show you results. You will be surprised.
Okay, that's an interesting thought. Like giving more kind of agility, more actionability to people, giving them more tools to be more kind of creative and create actual tangible things here and now. Because I definitely agree that it used to be much harder to get a startup to an MVP phase, to have a pitch deck for your potential investors. It all took a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of effort. Nowadays, there's a lot of talk about, our first unicorn built by a solo founder from the ground up being somewhere on the horizon very soon. So not yet, but very, very soon. And I do agree with you that it gives people more tools to experiment at the very least. It does not solve all of the problems. You cannot outsource the thinking to an LLM, for example. But you definitely can leverage some of its functions to enhance your own
Yeah,
thinking. But talking about like finance and payments specifically, there's a lot of regulation comes
right.
into place. There's not that much room for experimentation for actual live products. There's specific hoops you have to jump through before you're confident that a
Yeah,
feature works or a client will be satisfied. so on and so forth. So how do you see it? Is regulation a hindrance here in the sense that it stops experimentation, or is it more a boon where it's a quality control for which experiments should remain or should not?
So in general, I think in European Union we have more regulation than the United States and some other countries, that's for sure.
Definitely, yeah.
And in some cases, it doesn't help us. Not just our company, but in general, like companies, it doesn't help to move faster, to do some things, right?
Yeah.
I think that people who work with those regulations, they should be spending more time to understand if this regulation is because of we need regulation or because it really helps with something to make it more safe, right?
Yeah.
So in some cases, it's not the case. It's just like, oh, we need just more regulation and just to be safe. Um, like if you talk with IT security, like the easiest way to have best IT security is like you forbid everything. So that's it. This is
Yeah,
what
that
you have,
works.
right? So at the same time, like when we talk about finance, so there are some industries, some sectors like that's gonna be tricky going forward with AI. Like finance, one of them, health related sector is the other one, then transportation, right? So even though at some point we get to this level that there is like AI agents that can build a lot of great things for us,
Yeah.
I don't see yet that we have the right framework to make sure that this is safe enough. We see a lot of examples that AI can do write something really meaningful, either it's in code or in text language, and it looks really convincing. And it's very difficult to understand, like if there's like a trick here somewhere, if there's going to be a problem in the future, we need to have those domain experts. So I think for some sectors, it's going to take a while to start using that. They use part of it for some specific solutions already, but I wouldn't say this is the core yet. And I think it's going to take time, not because AI cannot handle it, but because our psychology is different and it takes time for us to accept that. So for some people, it's still taking time to accept that there is autonomous car that you can drive and there is no driver, right? And you can drive, and I would be fine with that. Like I could sit and I drive. I feel fine with that part.
Yeah.
But if somebody told me that there's an airplane, the whole thing is like without pilots and it's like it's amazing, it works. I'm not sure. Like for now, I would say no. Even it's like a free flight, you know.
Mhm.
So it takes time, right? And the same thing is with the health sector as well. It's like if everything is handled just by AI, and I know that AI hallucinates, even though the AI hallucinates much less than it was 2 years ago, but still does, right? And we need to take some decision, like if I should have reparation or not. I want to have doctor's opinion. I don't want AI to decide for me, right?
Yeah.
So there's like mental thing it's still there. It's so one thing is our psychology and mental thing. The other thing is our law. So there will be some regulations, right? So like these are two things that can, in a way, make us safer, but at the same time, um, not stop us, but makes not as fast as it could be.
Mhm.
So it's always a discussion in that sense.
Hmm. Okay. That's definitely true that it's an ongoing process. Regulation always kind of lags behind,
Right.
the innovation, especially in us in in the high tech world. We're always a few steps ahead of any regulation anywhere, even here in Europe, where we are
Right.
comparatively heavily regulated. But in comparison to the US, US is going to be thinking about this stuff in like 10, 20 years time. By this time, like everybody's going to be settled down, hopefully at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree in a sense that it can be both at some points, but it's definitely important to to leave room for that sort of experimentation. Maybe not in every industry, like you said, but in some are much more easily kind of experimentative by their just nature. And I want to kind of come back a little bit to the point of you building a startup, because right now we have a pretty vibrant startup scene here in the Baltics and in
Yep.
Lithuania
Yep.
specifically. So I mentor at the local Plug and Play, for example, and I've had a few startup founders here at the show and fund managers here at the show as well. So everybody talks more or less the same thing. Like, it's exploding. There's a lot of stuff that is being built, a lot of unicorns that are coming out of the region, and so on and so forth. So understanding what you do now about the tools, about the technology, would you start another startup somewhere? I don't know. Naturally, you won't leave your job tomorrow and start something new, but maybe if you were in that position, would you do that again? Or would you say that, your startup place was ideally when you did it and not now in the current environment?
I would.
Why?
So first of all, I do believe that everybody should try building a startup, and everybody should try working in a corporate culture.
Mm-hmm.
So you can learn different things and it will be, those experiences will be very different, but it's gonna help you have like a different perspective, different way of working with people. Because in some cases, like if you work in corporate and now you're working in startup, and you need to kind of like find a person who's working in corporate, so it's going to be easier for him to join you because you already know and you had some experience there, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, when you're growing with a startup, there are some regulations that are going to come at some point, right? Not in the beginning, but if you worked in corporate, it's also helpful. This is not new for us, and vice versa. Like when you go to corporate, in some cases, you may need to be more proactive than usually people who just start working in corporate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that people should start both, should try both. Actually, it depends on what is your life situation. It may be a little bit hectic and tricky if you having a family, having your first baby, and you're building a startup.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, having a baby and building a startup at the same time, it's tricky because the startup is kind of like a baby itself.
You basically have two startups at the same time.
Yes. And your spouse should support you. So it's very tricky, right? So depending what time you do that. But you should try both. And at the same time, you should not be afraid to come back. Like if you tried startup, you tried corporate, and you feel like you want to go and do startup again. Yeah, if you have some finances, because in startups, there are a lot of risks. There's more working hours, but you can get much more emotionally in a way.
Yeah.
And there's even like a good study that people who are over 40, they are much better founders than younger generation. Not younger generation, but like younger people, like in 20s.
Yeah.
So when we think about startups, we probably think about Mark Zuckerberg, who's like an outlier from this whole thing that he started in his 20s.
Yeah.
But the best founders, like if you look worldwide, they are over 40 when they started the whole thing. And it may not be their first startup, but some of them, they switched from corporate jobs and went there, right? So I would say it depends on situation, but I always recommend both. And it's for people who just finished or graduated university. Now I think it's a great time, if you can afford this, to explore, especially now in AI era. And we are kind of like getting into solopreneur more and more, that at some point we may have a first billionaire who built like just being him one person or two persons.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see that. And you can do much, much more just alone and later build a team. So there is a lot of opportunities. And I'm excited about AI because that allows us to be really creative and not to get stuck on some technicalities and some other things that usually takes lots of hours to do that, right? And like in some cases, you just need to have like right landing page copy And I remember some companies would spend like a week or 2 or 3 weeks on that.
Easily.
And now I think it's a perfect time experiment.
So, if you were to go that route, is there any particular idea that you would ideally want to expand into a startup or to try and build something off of it?
So yeah, there are a few. There are things that I thought about. For example, the ones that I use and interested. I do have Aura Ring. I have some other gadgets that I use for my health,
Hmm.
and I'm interested to see everything in one and getting me insights. So now what I'm doing, I'm basically uploading this data, just sharing some information with ChatGPT. I know there are some sensitive information, of course, but I share what I want to share. And I get some insights that are really interesting, and it helps me to go to the doctor and discuss those
Yeah.
and prepare and be a better patient in a way that doctor knows like what is interesting for me, and he can help me better, right?
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that I think that could be interesting to work on. Just an example, right?
Hmm.
And when we're talking about it, examples what people can work on, so I think you should definitely think about what would you use yourself, and you shouldn't be doing that just because I can earn money on that. If you can earn money on that and it's interesting for you, that's great. This is the best duo. But if it's just because of money, it's it's so difficult because you can get demotivated really fast. The idea that you're thinking of is probably that somebody's doing that already or somebody already did, and you can Google and maybe find some apps already in the App Store or Google Store, and you can get easily demotivated.
Yeah.
But if there's something that you're really passionate about, you truly believe, you can look at those decisions, those solutions, and you say, okay, this is not good here, this is not good here, and I would do it differently. And if you have that market fit, that's great. This is what you should be doing. And when we talk about startups, how to start those and which ideas to pick, the one thing that people spend not enough time on is market fit. So, number one reason why startups fail is market fit.
Mm.
Number two, I think, are money. Number three is, I think, a team. But number one is market fit. So, probably you may be building something that is really nice, but it's a vitamin, it's not a painkiller.
Yeah.
Nobody needs that, or there are like a group of people who need that, but not enough for you to build a company on it, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the things that we forget to look at. For those who are planning to build their startup, I would say one of the best books that I recommend is by Steve Blank, The Startup Manual.
Mm.
um, I think this one is like kind of like encyclopedia in a way. I learned a lot from it. He has also a blog that is designed really bad. At least it was a year ago, but it has like really golden nuggets there. There's a lot of good stuff there.
Hmm.
He's sort of like a godfather in a way for startup scene in Silicon Valley.
Hmm.
So that one, and the other one, I think that when people building startups, they should also read more about business model canvas.
Hmm.
So having everything in A4 paper, it's really good for you, for your team, and for your investors to understand what your business is about.
True. True. Thank you for those recommendations. I do concur everybody to actually check those out. So you've mentioned kind of the evolving capabilities of professionals nowadays, and your own career is pretty versatile, so to speak. It's not a straight line. You
Right.
have zigged and you zagged.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of criticism of AI nowadays because it is targeted at junior roles, right? People with less experience who are just learning stuff out. Why do that when you can give the middle experienced and the more experienced people just more AI tools, for example, and just free
Right.
up the budget and not train anybody else? From your experience, like, is that really true? Does that in AI transformation impact those lower skilled workers, or is it just, I don't know, a trend where it needs to kind of pivot a little bit, where what you're looking for in a professional
Right.
changes a little bit as a company?
So it is true. It is that like if you have like a two junior developers and one senior developer, or like three juniors, right? Probably you can achieve more with one senior person and giving me all access to available AI tools
Yeah.
than with the team of four. But this is like very simplified to this. I do believe that the best solution for companies going forward is to have people, senior position people who are interested not just in executing what they were hired for, either it's marketing or writing copy or designing something or building something, right? But they also have a desire to mentor and coach because company like they do not, their goal is to not survive the next year. Well, for startup it is the beginning especially.
A year, wow! Survive till next week for a lot of startups.
Right. But I mean, for established company, the goal is like to provide value to investors. If it's a public company, it's even more like understandable.
Yeah.
So if I invest in company XYZ, I want them to keep providing me great results, services, products for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So I can sell the stock later or I can like give to my kids, so the company is still valuable.
Mhm.
If company is short-sighted and it's still like, oh, we just gonna focus just on senior developers, right? It's gonna be tricky. Like, how do you grow talent? Like, what do you do? You need to have like kind of a timeline. You need to have like plan for that. So I think that this is the best combination. You have like senior domain experts, and they also interested, not everybody, but at least part of them is interested in coaching. And if you hire those junior professionals, right?
Yeah.
You can coach them, you can help them with AI tools, you can sit with them and discuss where AI can help them and what answers are like if this hallucinated, if this is right or wrong, because it's very difficult for non-domain expert or for junior domain expert to distinguish from really good answer and really well hallucinated answer. Domain experts can do that and they do it really well. Junior ones has more trouble with that, more problem, because it's so convincing, it's so difficult to distinguish, right?
Yeah.
But if you have those senior domain experts in any position and they are eager to also coach and mentor, that's one of the skills that I would be looking for when hiring people going forward in the future.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. Again, in my own personal experience that I like to add here is we definitely as a company hire less junior people than we used to. The kind of the pathway that you would take from a junior person to a middle person to a senior person and whatever, it has changed. And I don't think that there is a particular vision of how it has changed specifically, but what I can personally attest to is that when I mentor more junior people, it has become much easier and much streamlined for me as a mentor to do that, thanks to a lot of those AI tools. I can create a lot of specific examples and documentation to help guide them along, where beforehand I would have to, sit down and spend like a week doing screenshots, writing stuff, researching, cross-checking, and stuff like that. Now I can just jumble a bunch of documentation together that we already have and simplify it to a junior person and just explain it in like, an hour and I'm done, and not a week. And I can focus on actually just teaching them the critical skills, critical thinking skills that they need to address the information that they have. While beforehand, as a mentor, it was more on me to kind of find the information and give the information and present that information and give that information for them to kind of digest a little bit, the more traditional learning route. Now I feel like it's more learn by doing, and I just give them tools to just learn faster.
Right.
Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this.
I think very important thing is to just to say here, I want to emphasize this part, that it doesn't mean that having like a junior professional, it doesn't create value. They do create value, and now even more than before.
Mhm.
I have example of one of my friends. They kind of hired interns, and they gave some tasks for them, and they executed them like within a week. And they need to search and find some information. They use AI tools, and they were really surprised, like how quickly they came back with results and some insights, and what they provided to that company as interns, that was already valuable. So, and I think that's very interesting that in some cases there are some seasoned professionals in some job positions that kind of I'm not saying lazy, but there's this saying, like especially in some big companies, like always remember this who never saw this one, I recommend the Silicon Valley on HBO. There's this really good TV show.
Classic.
Yeah, it's really good one. And so there's this Huli company there, and they hire people as like, there's this saying, rest and vest. So basically you're just being in position, not doing. So there are people, not many. I know there are a few that I know from one company in Lithuania, one company outside of Lithuania. And yeah, they keep working, but I wouldn't say they provide so much value. So they may be important for the company because they are domain expertise if something breaks. That's okay. But yeah. And before we go to the next question, the other recommendation. So Silicon Valley is, for those building startup, is interesting. It's comedy, but there's another one. It's called Halt and Catch Fire.
Mm.
HLALT, not hold, but HALT.
Mhm.
Halt and Catch Fire. And this is a drama series. I think there are like 4 seasons. It's great. It's just it starts how to build the first personal computer and all the way to the internet.
Oh, wow.
So this is drama. It's really good. It's basically about 4 people. The one is visionary. The other one is designer, architectural designer. The other one is kind of like hardware and backend engineer, and the fourth one, she's like a prodigy software developer. So it's for those who are in IT. I really recommend to watch that one.
Interesting. Never heard of that one. I'm going to check it out. Thank you very much. So let's try and wrap up our discussion with something a bit more bold. So do you have any like crazy out there predictions of AI by like 2030?
So one of the, not prediction, but one of the things that I started thinking last year, I think, that we probably live in simulation. I don't know. For some reason, this mind never leaves me, because so many weird things happening in life, in the world lately, with decisions, some political decisions that we have around the world. And for me, it's like, that can't be true. This is like, I know people are different, I know, but this can't be real. So this is not prediction, but this is what I feel like. We kind of simulation. By 2030, I think that, first of all, I have 2 kids. I don't know what they're gonna study. So my daughter, she's gonna go to her first day in school in September. So I'm really not anxious, but kind of like semi-anxious to see what's gonna turn out for her. Like if she's gonna study university, or maybe in 18 years, this thing is non-existent. There's something else, right?
Yeah.
One thing I'm worried, by 2030, there will be a lot of people who do not have jobs. I'm kind of not afraid of that part. I think that we will have a system in a way that they have money to buy things, to buy food, to buy clothes. But the one thing that I'm really afraid of is the value they see in themselves, what they're producing to the world. And that was that experiment that I did. Can AI write like humans?
Mhm.
And if you see that AI wrote text better than you did, and this is your life you're doing, it's kind of like your existential question, right? And that goes for everybody,
Yeah.
actually. That also for me, for developers, for everybody, for video creators. Probably hairdresser will still be around. Not sure if a robot can do that, and maybe a plumber. It's still also a question. So I think I think we will have some challenges we don't even know about. I think we'll have existential crisis in a way. Sort to predict that, but I think we're getting there. I don't think people are aware of that.
Mm.
When I talk with some people, they still use AI, generative AI tools, the same way they used a year ago, and there are some people who use that very differently.
Hmm.
And it's gonna be like business. Business is a profit organization,
Yeah.
and it needs to earn money. So if there's one business that can work with 2 employees and produce the same results, and there's a business that does the same, but it needs 40 people, 50, I need to compete with that one that has only 2 employees. I need to figure out how to do that, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tricky thing. But on the other hand, I do believe that we will have some creative solutions that we never thought existed, that they were never possible because AI wasn't at our fingertips. It was with us all the time. It was from 1950, but the only way to talk with AI was to write code, and there was a very limited number of people who can do that.
Yeah.
And the results, it was like you couldn't even get there, right? So I do believe we will create some services and some products that do not exist. We will create our own movies. We will create our own songs. We will value more and more concerts that are live with real people, even though there are really good examples that work with CGI. And I was, there's really good ABBA Voyage concert in London. I've
Mm.
been there twice. The
Mm.
last time I brought my parents, and there was CGI. And my mother, she couldn't believe that was CGI. She thought that there was somebody lookalikes ABBA and just with good makeup.
Mm.
And even when we left this stadium, it's like, no, it's not possible. Like this is not like computer. I said, like, yeah, it is. So I think we will have more of that, but also more live things. We will have more conversations and spending more time in the nature.
Mm.
We will have this longing. We're gonna want that more and more. We're gonna value this more and more because everything else will be so easy to get and use.
Mm.
And yeah, so I think it's gonna be interesting, and probably we're gonna live much longer than we were planning to.
Mm.
And I think last but not least, there was a very interesting thought. I don't remember who said that, or maybe nobody, but we just had this discussion that maybe our purpose, humans' purpose on this earth, was to create AI. And this is like where our species end, but in a good way. Like we are happy we created something that can live forever, maybe in simulation, maybe not. I don't know.
Well, we will see. We will see. At least with the speed that things are developing, we are going to get to any point much faster than we used to get to any points in time. It used to happen that, you had something significant happening like every 20-ish years or so. Now it feels like every year something big is happening.
Yes.
But anyway, thanks, Martynas. Where do people find you? Where can they read and hear more of you?
Well, I usually share that on LinkedIn. On Facebook, I do share that too, but there are also some more personal stories, not about AI. They can join there as well. But yeah, mostly on LinkedIn. I have my website, martynaskairys.com, but I'm not sharing that much yet. Probably I should. I do love experiment a lot, and I will be doing that more and more. They can read more also about me as a non-programmer who built an app for my daughter for her to dress up faster in the morning. So the faster she dresses up in the morning for kindergarten, the more time she has for cartoons on Saturday. So I built this iOS app using AI tools in 42 hours, the whole thing as a non-programmer. So I write about that as well. And I share my thoughts, like what's working, what's not working. I do love to have discussions with people and people who disagree with me. I believe that that this is the best way to find what is the truth. So I'm very open for comments, open for suggestions, and yeah, I love experimenting. So planning to do this more and more.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining and sharing your expertise and stories. And thank you as well for listening to us today. Like you've heard already, if you want to argue in the comments, you can do so right here under this video. Imagine that. High tech. Wow. But if you want to argue with Martynas somewhere else, you can find him in the LinkedIn's and his personal website and Facebook. Don't stalk him though. Don't be a stalker. That's not nice. If you want to hear more of our episodes, subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't like what you hear today, like tell us why. If you liked it, tell us why. And yeah, like share it with your friends if you found it at least insightful and useful. So thank you very much for your attention, and we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.